Hello, everyone. Today's live for our Ask Us Relationship series. Today is our episode 2, and we are in for an interesting question.
So here we have Diana, who is a self-leadership and mindset coach. And you already know her from our first episode. And myself, Natasha, who is a family relationships coach. I'd like to invite everyone who is watching live. We have a group, it's a closed group for women only on Facebook. It's called Loving Relationships. The link is in both our bios. Please join us. Join us to have a more deeper conversation on relationships. And you do not want to miss our monthly gathering. It's once a month on the last Wednesday of the month. And there we dive deeper, don't we? We have these discussions and really get to know more about relationships.
Well said. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's a community who that we build to support each other. So we're not navigating this world alone, right? So we're here to share our experience, to create more perspective, and build a community that is supportive, loving, and yeah, there for each other. Thank you.
Question we have is, my daughter-in-law stays totally disconnected and aloof from me. I think it is because I'm the only one who says anything to her when she's not fulfilling her promise. She had promised to move to our city, Boston, permanently after the marriage. Now she doesn't want to stay here. She keeps going back to her home every few weeks. I'm the only one who reminds her of her promise, so she just stays away from me. How should I handle this situation? Currently, I don't talk to her much either, but I do want to have a good friendly relationship with her. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is one of those common but very difficult relationship to navigate because you know two families are joining together. There's a lot of newness. There's a lot of things that needs to be talked about. But two things I heard from the question is that one is you're the one who you want your daughter-in-law to adhere to or follow through her promise to move to Boston. And the second one is that you want to have a friendly relationship with her. So there's two things that's very obvious. So obviously I don't have the full story as to how the commitment or the agreement happened between families, but for this purpose, I will assume that when they made their life plans at the time, moving to Boston was the goal for them. So the first thing I would do, well, if I'm coaching mom, is I would encourage you to stay curious as to what might have shifted for her. And perhaps from there, if it's available, to create a conversation, an open conversation, to understand what might have motivated to shift for her or change her mind, because obviously this is causing some confusion for probably not just by you, because this sounds like it's a unified commitment. So have an open conversation, but listen to her without judgment and share your feelings and how this is impacting you as well. Because how you view your feelings and emotion that's coming up is just as important as hers. Because what I heard in the second part is that you want to build a loving, friendly relationship with her. So what does that look like? So this is the question that I would want you to reflect on, because if a loving relationship or a friendly relationship is something that is opposite to somebody who is always reminding of the promise that was not made yet, then see what might be the balance and how you could work together towards a solution where everyone is happy, heard, and seen and acknowledged. Because that is the most important part, is that people usually deflect or run away because there's something underlying, bigger underneath, that they're not willing to share yet, or they don't feel safe. So those are the things that I would ask, to stay curious. What is the motivation behind it? So, because human being, we're so attached, who said William Shakespeare said, the roots of all heartaches are from expectation, or the other word, expectation is the root of all heartaches, right? Because sometimes when we're so attached to the outcome, we go into this tunnel vision. So we don't pause for a moment and see what elements are affecting our suffering, because we just want the end goal, and we're not realizing that there are some factors that might be shifting, and that we're not, or we haven't yet take a moment to reflect on them. So these are the things, because it's not just you, it's not just her, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that are involved in the decision making. So that's my take. Like, figure out if you could open a conversation and listen to each other and create a step where it moves towards that friendship, because in the end, that is the most important thing to have, is to have a loving and understanding, supportive relationship. That's my take. How about you?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I really liked the part about expectations, what you said, right? Now, let's look at this. I will share mine as well,
Yeah.
but I'm curious now. What if either of them are not willing to talk, to go into this conversation? What then? What should this say if it's the mother-in-law? But again, it's the question is from the mother-in-law, so she wants to, right? What if the daughter-in-law doesn't want to have this conversation and she is avoiding the conversation?
So I think what we need to hone in is to focus on what we can control. We can't make other people do the things that we want them to do. That is the root of all suffering, is because when we are attached, the attachment we have to something is the root of all the sufferings and the pain that we have. And if we focus on the things that we can control, and that comes with how we respond to the situation, how we react to those situations, and how do I respond to my need in this particular situation. So if, say, for example, I'm the mother-in-law, and if my daughter-in-law refused to talk to me, I acknowledge that and say, she's not ready, right? She's not ready to talk to me. When she is, I'll probably just send her a note, and I said, I see that this is what I see, and this is not a judgment. I just want you to know that I'm here to listen to whatever is bothering you or affecting our relationship, and be there and leave it that way. But there's no pressure. There's no pressure, because once we start to chase, it's like, that thing that you chase keeps moving away, right? But if you strengthen yourself, work on yourself, and accept that things in the world are the impermanence of the world, even the suffering, even the miscommunication that we have, it's not permanent. But how we respond to those situations is the most important shift that might help, the suffering that we have. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I would invite our audience, please share your views. What do you think? What should the mother-in-law do in this situation where she wants to connect, she genuinely wants to connect, but she feels let down because her daughter-in-law has promised something and is not really responding back or isn't acting upon it. So yeah, I would love your input. Everyone watching, would be nice to get some insights, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So from my side, I see it this way. I completely align to what you are saying, and I loved it because I see it this way as well. There's expectations. The mother-in-law is expecting something from the daughter-in-law, and vice versa. We probably don't know what the daughter-in-law is expecting from the mother-in-law. And as you said, expectations leads to disappointment. And why do we get disappointed? That's because we see it through the lens of our own values. We don't know the whole story, the whole picture, but we only know that the mother-in-law might have certain values that are very close to her heart. So it could be the value of honesty, could be the value of trust. And she is expecting the daughter-in-law to value the same. But that might not be her values. She has her own beautiful values. She might have these values, but they might not be as high as the mother-in-law regards it. So if the mother-in-law thinks that honesty, people have to be honest. If you say something, you have to stick to your words. But that's her. She probably does that beautifully, and she holds that high and expects everyone else to do the same. And that's why she's getting disappointed. And the daughter-in-law might have some other values where she is now getting disappointed, thinking that these values are not being met. What do you think about this?
Yeah, values definitely are sometimes, again, there's values and they're core values, right? And that sometimes some of our values can shift. It's like palm tree. It shifts for a little bit because you're more considerate of other people. That okay, I can do this because I know that it's important for other people. But our core values sometimes when it gets hit, that's where our ego gets really I don't know, awoken. And then we respond sometimes blindly, right? So I think it's very important to identify your core values and see what might be getting in the way of the desire to create this loving relationship that you have or want. Yeah.
Yes, and connection. Specifically, she has mentioned about connecting, the disconnection, and that really happens when we are disappointed. We almost create. That's when, as you said, the ego, right? And we've created a resentment now,
Mm-hmm.
and this resentment is now creating the distance. And you said it very beautifully. Have the conversation, maybe take the first step. Listen to what the other person is saying. Let go of the resentment because every time, maybe, when they are trying to have the conversation, the resentment, the ego kicks in, right? The resentment comes forward. You said this last month and you didn't do it. You promised me 2 weeks ago and you didn't do it.
Yeah. So there's a trust there that needs to get some clarification on, because obviously the honesty sounds like very important for her. But I do also want to acknowledge though that being a parent, it's so hard, very, very hard. Like no matter how old our kids are, even when after they get married, right? Because these are our babies, and oh, seeing them make decisions on their own, move out to our home. And as a parent, sometimes we get into this, I call identity collision, right? Because what happens is we got so used to a certain relationship, and then it's no longer there. There's a conflict that might happen within you that you might not be paying attention. And so when that happens, there's a sense of loss that could happen. And if you pause for a moment and acknowledge that, oh my God, my kid's life are changing and I'm no longer there, right? So the collision might happen is that we want to stay the same, but it can't be. And this is where I'm trying to say that the impermanence of things in our lives, if we learn to move with the flow, it's so beautiful to say, oh, okay, this is where my son or my daughter is moving now. Let me see what it is within me that I want to shift so that I could maintain a relationship. It might not be the same, but it's still a relationship that everyone is happy and feels supported and seen and heard, right? Because that's our basic needs, is to be seen and heard and feel safe. And if one of those elements are gone, we start to run away, deflect, avoid, all of those stuff so that we could feel safe in our environment. So, and it's not just for the daughter-in-law, it's also for the mom, and it's real. So I think that the bigger question is, how can you see the movement that is shifting in your relationship, and that your desire to create this loving and supportive relationship, what can you do so that that is possible? Because you are the one who's aware. Like, you can see, your awareness so beautiful. Like, there's a promise, that the promise is shifted, and that you're hurt, and that she's avoiding, but you have this desire to want to have this relationship and this friendly relationship. And if you could be aware of all of that awareness that you have within you, you have the power to take the step, if you're willing to take the first step and say, this is what I see, and this is what do you think? And have that open conversation. And I think that the communication will also shift as they grow. So yeah, it's a very difficult, it's not easy, but it's possible to solve this challenge. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I agree. It's not easy, but it's possible. And what I'm hearing from you is also something that I would practice myself as well, is acceptance of the now.
Yeah.
As you said, that things have changed, kids have moved away, and there is a deep sense of sadness, a deep sense of, that longing, but accepting the now. This is what it is right now. And the wish and the willingness is that I want to connect. So having that at the core of everything, to then take that next step forward and think, okay, I accept where I am right now, and I accept you where you are right now. So accepting yourself first, accepting the truth for yourself first, and accept the other person who you are expecting all these things from. And that will be a beautiful place to then start making those steps forward. If we haven't accepted that part yet, it will probably be hard, because the expectation will always be on the other side, from the other person.
Yeah.
Is
Pieces
there a
of the
tool?
puzzle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there a tool you would like to share before we finish, or as we come to an end? Is there a tool you would use with your client, or is there something that the mother-in-law can use as her first step towards making the connection?
Yeah, Well, my tool is mindfulness. It's really something that uh, I practice a lot. Because it does slow you down so that you can go faster. And because if you're like going, you'll miss all of these elements that are affecting your life, and you're not aware of things that are standing still and that are moving, right? Because you're going on autopilot. So there's not much tool around this, but I would encourage reflection and self-compassion. Self-compassion, because if we don't have that within us, we can't give that to other people. That's the first step, is that acknowledge, really truly acknowledge that you're hurting, and that this situation is too much, not too much, but it needs to shift. Sometimes when the suffering outweighs the comfort, it pushes you to make those decisions, right? And so are you willing to stay where you are, which is, sticking to what's right? Or are you someone who would like to cultivate this loving relationship? But what does that look like? Who do you need to be enabled to encourage that kind of relationship, right? Because when you ask yourself, who do I need to be, or who do I want to be, not need, who do I want to be, enable for me to be that someone who is have that kind of relationship with my kids, my in-laws, right? Yeah, so it's just something to reflect on. And if I think of anything else, I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, but that's what I would do. How about you?
With me, I normally practice this. So if I have resentment towards someone, and even before I can do something, my first step is, as I said, to acknowledge. But how building the connection first, even before you're going for the communication, because if you have no connection at all, your words won't get through to the other person, right? So if it's someone like this, what I try is I try to meditate and I visualize. I visualize that person in front of me, and I give them the message. I create a blessing for the relationship, and I always say, first I acknowledge I am a peaceful and loving soul. So that's me. And then I acknowledge you are a powerful soul. I accept you exactly the way you are. And I repeat that while visualizing the person. And believe me, it has worked. It works. It takes
I love that.
time. You might not see it happening straight away, but with time, it's powerful because you're acknowledging that you are a peaceful and kind soul. And with that peace and kindness in your heart, you then send a connection to this person saying, you are a powerful soul and I accept you exactly the way you are. There are no expectations, nothing of any sort. I accept you. And it is a powerful practice.
I love that tool. Yeah, it's like saying a prayer almost, right? And the universe is there to always listen and open that pathway. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's what you want the relationship to be, not what it's right now. Right now, you might be angry with this person, but it's not about the now. It's about what do you want this to be and visualize it. And it will,
Yeah.
it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when we ask ourselves, um, when we ask ourselves to what do I want instead of what do I need, it's a huge difference of feeling, because when we want, it's you know that it's an you're coming from abundance, right? And it's possible. right? You could feel it when you said, I want to have a relationship with my daughter-in-law, and you could feel that, and I feel that in my heart, like I want it, like it's here. But when you say, oh, I need to be, you're chasing it, right? You're chasing because
Wow.
it's not here yet. So when you ask yourself when you're doing your reflection, is that, who do I want to be so I could be supported? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's
Oh, well,
beautiful. That's our time for today. And it was
yeah.
such a special conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't get talked a lot.
No, no. The other thing too is that if this is something that uh, affecting you in a more deeper way, and that it's far more complicated than what Natasha and I seem to make it, like, get some support, like, get some counseling, mediator or whatever, get some coaching around this, to really build your inner strength, so that you
Mm.
could respond to, or attend, or show up for yourself, rather than the noise of the society, or the needs that needs to be filled, and listen to your true self, right? What does that even mean, our true self? Like, see what is it that you want for yourself, because sometimes what we need is different from what we want. So get some support, talk about it, because you could hear, different perspective might shift something within you, and that's definitely something that I would do. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Or join our group, right?
yeah, join our
If
group.
yeah, if you're still thinking, if you're still considering, oh, should I go for counseling? Should I go for a relationship coaching? Join our group. Have discussions with us. Come and let's talk about more openly. Let's talk about relationships, right?
Yeah.
And later you can decide whether, okay, maybe it is time, or no, I'm good. I am really working towards it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for your
No,
time.
thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone who joined us. Please, please, please share your insights as well. It really helps us. And please send us some more questions. We love answering all these questions.
Yes, please. I think that the more we share our thoughts and perspective on things, that it might actually, build a stronger community and help each other become more aware of what's possible, right? Because sometimes, as I said, when we get tunnel visioned, we only see one way, but somebody might have a flashlight and says, "Hey, there's another way over here," right? And it could change somebody's life. So our goal for doing this live is to just bring awareness to what is possible, to overcome whatever the challenges are. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely rest of the afternoon or morning for wherever you're joining from. Thanks,
All right.
Diana.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.